Hello and welcome to CJShortReviews. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I'm doing one now. And the reason I'm doing one now is because I saw the new Top Gun Maverick movie, and I liked it so much better than the first one. It's still not a perfect movie. It's still not one of my favorite movies ever, but it was good. It was an actually good movie. It fixes so many of the problems that I had with the first one. Um, this is a little harder for me to recall due to the fact that while I usually record these right after having seen the movie, this time it's actually been a few days because I actually saw the movie while on a trip at my grandparents' place, and I didn't really have my VR equipment or anything with me, so I couldn't really record one of these in the way I usually do right after watching the movie. But yeah. So in this movie, Maverick comes off as a lot more of a sympathetic character. He doesn't really do anything that comes off as like super fucked up or creepy like he sometimes does in the first movie, which makes me want to root for him as a character a lot more. Um he genuinely like he acts a little poorly towards this other character called Rooster in the movie, but the main reason that he's sort of acting this way with Rooster is because Rooster was one of his friends in the first movie who died, Goose. His son is Rooster, and Maverick is very protective of him because that was one of his best friend's kids, and he doesn't, he's really afraid of, he felt kind of responsible for his friend's death in a way, so he really didn't want to, do the same thing to his kid. That it really feels like everything that he does comes from him wanting to protect this kid, and it makes his character significantly more admirable than he was in the first movie. So throughout this movie, they're all trying to learn how to do this mission. Sorry, I keep moving around. That's controller drift. They're all trying to learn how to do this really dangerous mission, and Rooster is very determined to be a part of this mission, but only a few students, or a few pilots are going to be allowed to fly on this mission due to how incredibly dangerous it is. I'm not going to give away too many details since it's a newer movie. I'm going to somewhat try to avoid too many spoilers. But yeah, you it's weird because on the one hand you really understand why Maverick wants to protect this kid, but you also are sort of rooting for him to, like, you are kind of rooting for Rooster to like kind of like prove himself and all that. So it's a very interesting dynamic between the characters. A lot of the dialogue is genuinely like funny. Like some of it's a bit cheesy, but it's not nearly as bad as it was in the first movie. It feels a lot more like you know, the characters feel a lot less boring. Like there's no other way to put it. Like there's some genuinely funny lines and dialogue in this movie. It never feels, or it rarely ever feels, at least, like any of the lines that these characters say are just there to like fill time in the movie. When in the first one, it felt like that was the only purpose of the dialogue, despite the fact that that was like 70% of the movie was dialogue that felt like it was a placeholder. The action scenes are a lot better shot. I'll fully admit I'm not like an expert on cinematography and how it's done and all that. I've only learned some like very basic stuff about that. But you can tell they cared a lot more about the visuals of this movie. And, of course, also technology has evolved so they can, do a lot more with the movie because of that. And as a result, the action scenes where they are flying in these jets look really amazing and genuinely exciting. They also do bring back the song Highway to the Danger Zone, but they don't overuse it several times in the song. In fact, I think it only played once during the entire movie. It might have played again during the credits. I didn't really stick around and watch the credits. Um, so, that I'm not actually sure of, but, I don't think it would be a problem to use it there either, obviously. But yeah, they actually they use the song as like a nice sort of callback to the first movie. Even though I didn't like the first movie, I can see how for people who did like it, that would be like a cool sort of callback. I think this movie will do a good job at providing a lot of like nostalgia and like good fan service to people who genuinely liked the first movie, while also making the writing just a lot better than the first movie. The soundtrack in this movie is great, and they don't overuse songs. Another thing I liked about this movie was that the girl who Maverick likes, who I believe is the same girl from the first movie. I don't remember the character's name, unfortunately, but in the first movie, it felt like she really didn't serve a purpose. It didn't feel like she had any actual chemistry with Maverick. It felt like she was just there because the movie was like checking off like a love interest checkbox, and she was not there for any other purpose. Uh, in this movie, she's still not like the most important character or anything, but she's there, and at some point when she's with Maverick, she talks to him about what it's like for her to like raise her daughter, and some advice that she can give him from that, because he's teaching all of these people to fly this very dangerous mission. And she gives him advice about how sometimes you have to sort of let let your kids take risks, which is something that Maverick can kind of apply to like Rooster and the other pilots who he's training. And it actually feels like a very important line in the movie, and it feels important that he actually learned that from her, so that her character serves a bit more of a purpose in this movie. But yeah, overall, this movie fixed a lot of problems that I had with the first one. It still didn't like blow me away or anything. Like I really enjoyed it. I was kind of blown away just by how much of an improvement it was on the first one. But outside of that, it was just like a really good, solid movie that didn't amaze me or blow my mind, but certainly didn't disappoint me in any way either. So, with that in mind, I would probably give the movie a 6 out of 10, maybe a 7, but I would say it's a bit I'm feeling a bit more like a 6, but it's close to a 7. It's a good movie. I recommend you check it out, regardless of whether or not you liked the first one. And I do not recommend you check out the first one. You don't need to see the first one to enjoy this movie at all. This movie can be enjoyed just on its own terms, or if you've seen the first one, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, I recommend this movie. Go check it out, and I will see you guys in the next video, whenever that is. Yeah, goodbye.